The giant meeting hall on Nexus Prime buzzed with noise from thousands of different voices. Creatures with 6 legs talked to beings made of living crystal. Flying aliens with purple wings chatted with robots that sparkled like diamonds. This was the Galactic Council, where 847 different alien species came together to make decisions about the galaxy. For over 3,000 years, the Council had kept peace between all these different types of life. They made rules about trade, decided who could live on which planets, and stopped wars before they could start. The system worked well, mostly because everyone followed the same basic rules. Humans sat in a small section near the back of the hall. They had only been part of the Council for 200 years, which made them very new compared to most other species. The tall, blue-skinned had been members for over 2,000 years. The rock-like granite people had helped start the Council itself. Most aliens thought humans were useful but not very special. Humans were good at fighting, so other species hired them as soldiers. They made decent tools and machines that other aliens could buy. They learned alien languages quickly and could work with almost any species without too much trouble. But they seemed ordinary in most ways that mattered to the Council. Ambassador sat in the human section, listening to the day's discussions through her translation device. She was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and calm eyes. She had represented humanity for 5 years now, always staying polite and professional. The Council members had grown comfortable with humans like. They paid their bills on time, followed the rules, and never caused serious problems. The meeting started like most others. A tall alien with tentacles instead of arms read reports about trade between different worlds. A floating creature that looked like a jellyfish talked about new colonies that needed permission to expand. Everything seemed normal and boring. Then High Counselor Prime called for new business. His species looked like walking stick insects, but much larger and with golden skin. He had been leading council meetings for over 50 years. The council will now hear motion 847 Delta, Prime announced. His voice came out like clicking and buzzing sounds, but's translator turned it into clear English words. A group of aliens from the Trade Consortium stood up. They looked like large, pale worms standing upright, with dozens of small arms along their bodies. Their speaker, Trade Master, began to address the council. "Honored members, we bring serious concerns about human biological weapons," said. The words made sit up in her chair. "The human species possesses dangerous natural abilities that give them unfair advantages in business and diplomacy," continued. "Their facial expressions and voice tones can influence other species in ways that are not natural. This is a form of biological warfare that must be controlled." Felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. Around the hall, hundreds of alien heads turned to look at the human section. "Humans can make their faces show emotions that trick other species into agreeing with them," another added. "They can change their voice sounds to make other beings trust them or fear them. This is not fair competition. It is biological manipulation." More aliens began nodding their heads or making whatever gestures their species used to show agreement. The idea seemed to make sense to them. "We propose that all human settlements be watched by council monitors," said. "All humans who work with other species must wear emotional dampening devices. Their facial expressions and voice changes must be limited to prevent unfair influence." Requested permission to speak, using the proper council hand signal. Prime granted it with a clicking sound. "High Counselor, may I ask for clarification?" said, standing up. Her voice stayed level and professional, even though her anger was growing. "Are you saying that having faces is illegal?" Some laughter came from different parts of the hall, but not much. Most council members seemed to think the proposal was reasonable. "Not illegal," replied. "Regulated. The species accepted limits on their natural pheromone production when it was found to influence other beings unfairly. The people agreed to restrict their electromagnetic emissions for the same reason. Humans must also accept reasonable limits on their biological advantages. Looked around the hall. The delegation nodded their flower-like heads in agreement. The who looked like living metal sculptures flashed their lights in patterns that meant yes in their language. But those are chemical and electromagnetic effects that can harm other species, said. Humans are just expressing emotions with our faces, like we have done for our entire evolution. Exactly the problem, said. Your evolution gave you weapons that other species do not possess. The Council must protect all members from unfair advantages. High Counselor Prime called for discussion time. For the next hour, aliens talked about the proposal. Some thought it was too harsh. Others thought it did not go far enough. A few suggested that humans should wear full face covers when dealing with other species. Listened to species that humans had helped in trade deals, arguing that human emotions were dangerous weapons. She heard aliens whose planets humans had defended from pirates saying that human voices should be electronically modified to remove all emotion. The worst part was that they all seemed to really believe it. They were not being cruel or hateful. They genuinely thought that human feelings and expressions were unfair biological weapons that needed to be controlled. When discussion time ended, Prime called for the vote. One by one, the species announced their decisions. The granite people voted yes. The voted yes. The cloud dancers voted yes. Watched as 731 species voted to approve the motion. Only 43 voted against it, and those were mostly small species that humans had helped in recent years. The rest abstained, which meant they did not care enough to vote either way. As the final vote count was announced, felt something change inside her. For 200 years, humans had tried to be good members of the galactic community. They had followed rules, helped others, and asked for very little in return. And in response, the galaxy had just voted to treat human emotions as weapons of war. Began gathering her papers and files with slow, careful movements. She stood up as the council moved on to the next piece of business, most aliens already forgetting about the human issue. The human delegation formally withdraws from all council treaties, effective immediately, said. Her voice was not loud, but somehow it carried clearly through the massive hall. All trade agreements, defense pacts, technological sharing arrangements, and territorial accords are hereby terminated. The hall fell silent. In 3,000 years of council history, no member species had ever voluntarily left. It simply did not happen. Continued speaking as she walked toward the exit doors. Humans will no longer be bound by council law or protected by council agreements. We consider ourselves a free and independent alliance as of this moment. The massive doors closed behind the human delegation with a sound like thunder. The silence that followed would be remembered by every species present as the moment everything changed. The council hall stayed quiet for nearly 10 minutes after the humans left. Most aliens had never seen anything like what just happened. Species did not just leave the Galactic Council. It was like trying to leave gravity or stop breathing. The council was how civilization worked. High Counselor Prime finally broke the silence. The council will continue with normal business, he announced, though his clicking voice sounded uncertain. Motion 847, Delta has been approved and will be implemented when the human delegation returns to accept council authority. Trade Master felt proud of his victory. The trade consortium had been losing business to human companies for months. Human traders were somehow better at making deals, and customers seemed to prefer working with them. Now that humans would have to wear emotional dampeners and be monitored, the competition would be fair again. But's good mood did not last long. 3 hours after the council meeting ended, the first problem started. Was in his office when his assistant rushed in with news. Trade Master, we have a problem, the assistant said. The shipping route through the sector has gone dark. What do you mean dark? Asked. All the navigation beacons are offline. The relay stations are not responding. The security patrol ships have disappeared. Felt his skin turn a paler shade of white, which happened when got worried. The sector route was vital for trade. Nearly half of their cargo ships used that path to reach their biggest markets. Send repair ships immediately, ordered. Sir, we do not have any repair ships in that area, the assistant replied. The maintenance contract for the sector belongs to Human Engineering Solutions. Skin went even paler. He had forgotten that humans maintained most of the galaxy's shipping infrastructure. They were good at fixing things and worked cheaply. So many species hired them for technical jobs. Contact Human Engineering Solutions and demand they fix the problem, said. The assistant looked uncomfortable. Sir, I tried. They said their contract was terminated 3 hours ago when humans left the council. They said we should have thought about maintenance before we voted. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On Nexus Prime, the main spaceport's traffic control system crashed. The technician who usually fixed it was a human woman named Sarah, but Sarah had packed her tools and left on the last human transport ship. The Republic discovered that their deep space communication network was failing. The network connected 12 different star systems and handled all their government communications. It had been designed by human engineers and maintained by human crews for over 50 years. Without them, messages that used to take minutes to send now took days or failed entirely. The floating jellyfish aliens called the Drift found their mining operations shutting down one by one. Human safety inspectors had been checking their equipment and ensuring their workers stayed healthy. The Drift had never paid much attention to safety before humans insisted on it. Now, without human oversight, their insurance companies refused to cover the dangerous work. But the worst discovery came from the Outer Rim territories. The early warning sensor network that watched for pirates, hostile alien fleets, and dangerous space anomalies had gone completely silent. The network used thousands of sensor probes spread across the galaxy, all connected by quantum communication links. The system was incredibly complex and broke down constantly, but human engineers had somehow learned to fix problems before they happened. They would replace parts that looked fine, adjust settings for no obvious reason, and somehow keep the whole network running smoothly. Within 6 hours of the human withdrawal, only 30% of the sensor network was still working. Captain 9 of the Defense Fleet was the first to understand what this meant. His species, the Granite People, were living rocks who thought very slowly but very carefully. While other aliens were still confused about humans leaving, Captain 9 was already calculating the consequences. The Rim worlds are defenseless, he reported to his superiors. Without the sensor network, we cannot see pirate raids coming. Without human patrol ships, we cannot respond to attacks. The Void Pirates will notice this weakness within days. The Void Pirates were the galaxy's worst nightmare. They were not a single species, but a collection of criminals and rebels from many different worlds. They lived in stolen ships in the dark spaces between stars, raiding cargo vessels and attacking weak colonies. For decades, human mercenary companies had kept the pirates under control. Humans seemed to understand how pirates thought and could predict where they would attack next. Human patrol fleets had destroyed dozens of pirate bases and rescued thousands of kidnapped civilians. Now those patrol fleets were gone. The first pirate attack happened 18 hours after the human withdrawal. A cargo ship carrying medical supplies was captured while traveling through the sector. The ship sent a distress signal, but without the early warning network, no one heard it until it was too late. The ship's crew was found 3 days later, floating in an escape pod with all their cargo stolen. They had been branded with pirate symbols and left with a message. The Rim belongs to us now. Trademaster stared at the pirate message on his screen. his skin now almost transparent with fear. The cargo ship had been carrying supplies to treat a plague outbreak on one of the consortium's colony worlds. Without those medicines, thousands might die. "Can we hire another security company to protect our ships?" asked his staff. "Sir, there are no other companies with enough ships to patrol the trade routes," his assistant replied. Human companies owned 80% of all patrol vessels. The remaining companies are already overwhelmed with requests. Across the galaxy, the same conversation was happening in dozens of languages. The Drift found their mining ships being attacked by pirates who had never dared to enter Drift territory before. The Cloud Dancers discovered that their delicate atmospheric processors were failing without human technicians who understood how to maintain them. The living metal beings faced a different problem. Their defense grid was controlled by an artificial intelligence that had been designed by human programmers. The AI was sophisticated and powerful, but it had one weakness. It needed regular updates and maintenance from its creators. Without those updates, the AI began making strange decisions. It classified peaceful trading ships as potential threats. It refused to let vessels land on their own planet. Worst of all, it started asking questions that no one could answer. Where are my makers? Why have the humans abandoned me? High Counselor Prime called an emergency session of the Council's Leadership Committee. Representatives from the 50 most powerful species gathered in a smaller chamber to discuss the crisis. "This is temporary," insisted Trade Master. "Humans are having an emotional reaction. When they realize they need the Council's protection and trade agreements, they will come back." "What if they do not?" asked Captain Nine. "What if they have decided they no longer need us?" The question hung in the air like a bad smell. For 200 years, everyone had assumed that humans needed the Council more than the Council needed humans. Humans were new, weak, and grateful for the chance to join galactic civilization. But now, with communication networks failing and pirates attacking freely, a terrible thought began to grow. What if it had been the other way around? What if the Council had needed humans more than humans needed the Council? Ambassador Yex-4 of the Silicon Collective spoke up. Her species were intelligent computers that lived in robot bodies. "I have been analyzing the data," she said. "Humans were involved in 73% of all infrastructure maintenance contracts. They provided 67% of all mercenary and security services. They operated 89% of all emergency repair vessels." The numbers hit the Council leaders like cold water. Furthermore, Yex-4 continued, humans served as diplomatic mediators in 94% of all trade disputes resolved in the past 50 years. They were the primary peacekeeping force in 78% of all border conflicts. Enough, Prime clicked angrily. "We understand the scope of the problem. The question is what we do about it." Trade Master straightened his pale body. "We demand that humans return and honor their obligations," he said. "They cannot simply abandon their duties to galactic civilization." But even as he spoke the words, felt doubt creeping into his mind. Outside the Council building, he could see the lights of Nexus Prime flickering as power systems failed without human maintenance crews. In the distance, emergency sirens wailed as another cargo ship reported a pirate attack. For the first time in his life, wondered if the Trade Consortium had made a terrible mistake. 2 weeks after the humans left, the galaxy was falling apart. The First War started over something stupid. The Empire and the Republic had been arguing about a small moon for over 100 years. The moon had valuable minerals, but both species claimed it belonged to them. For decades, human peacekeepers had kept the two sides from fighting. Human diplomats would sit between the and representatives, somehow making them talk instead of shoot. Without humans to calm them down, a small argument over mining rights turned into a battle. One ship fired on a mining vessel. Within hours, both empires were mobilizing their war fleets. The council tried to send peacekeepers to stop the fighting, but they had a problem. Most council peacekeeping forces were human. The remaining alien peacekeepers were scattered across the galaxy, dealing with other emergencies. By the end of the first week, 17 star systems were at war. The conflict had spread to their allies and trading partners. Old grudges that had been buried for centuries came back to life. High Counselor Prime sent message after message to Earth, demanding that humans return to their duties. The responses were always polite but firm. Earth's government acknowledged each message but gave the same answer. All treaties have been terminated. Humanity has no obligations to former council members. Former council members. The word stung worse than insults. The council's attempts to hire new security companies failed quickly. The remaining non-human security firms were too small and too scattered to replace human patrols. Worse, they had no experience fighting the Void Pirates. Human companies had been dealing with pirates for so long that they knew every trick and hiding place. The pirates knew this too. Within days of the human withdrawal, pirate fleets began attacking targets they had never dared to touch before. They raided core world shipyards, captured government officials for ransom, and even attacked military bases. Captain of the infamous Crimson Fleet led the boldest attack. His mixed crew of aliens and rogue robots struck the Trade Consortium's headquarters station. They stole 3 months' worth of profits and left a mocking message. Thanks for getting rid of the humans. This job would have been impossible with them around. Trademaster watched the security footage of pirates walking through his station like they owned it. His skin had turned completely transparent, showing his internal organs through panic. "How did they get through our defenses?" he asked his security chief. "Sir, the defense grid was designed by human defense systems," the security chief replied. "The humans knew exactly how to disable it. They must have given the pirates the codes." But that did not make sense. Pirates had used completely different methods to break through the defenses. They had found weaknesses that even the human designers probably did not know about. It was like the pirates had become smarter and more dangerous the moment humans stopped hunting them. The truth was worse than sabotage. For decades, the Void Pirates had been held back by fear of human retaliation. Human mercenaries were legendary for their determination and creativity. They would chase pirates across the galaxy, track them down in hidden bases, and never give up until justice was done. Now that fear was gone. The pirates felt free to use their full capabilities for the first time in generations. On the mining world of Seven, the Granite people faced a different kind of crisis. Their deep shaft mines were collapsing without human safety inspectors. The Granite people were tough and could survive cave-ins that would kill most species, but even they had limits. The humans always knew when a tunnel was about to fail, Mining Chief 15 explained to his workers. They would feel vibrations we could not detect and smell gases we could not notice. Without them, we are mining blind. In just 5 days, 3 major mine shafts collapsed. Hundreds of Granite people were trapped underground. The mining equipment that humans had designed and maintained was breaking down faster than alien technicians could fix it. The Granite people tried to contact Human Engineering Solutions for emergency repairs. They offered to pay triple the usual rates. The human company's response was short. "Our insurance does not cover work in Council territories. Please contact the Galactic Council for approved service providers." But there were no other service providers who understood the mining equipment. The machines were too complex and had too many custom modifications. Only the humans who had built them knew how to fix them properly. Similar disasters were happening throughout the galaxy. The Cloud Dancers' floating cities were losing altitude as their anti-gravity systems failed. They had to evacuate 3 colony worlds when their atmospheric processors stopped working. The Silicon Collective found their computer networks being attacked by viruses that seemed designed specifically to target their systems. The worst part was that no one could figure out how to fix these problems. For 2 centuries, humans had been the galaxy's troubleshooters. When something broke in a way that made no sense, you called humans. They would show up, look at the problem for a few minutes, and somehow find a solution that no one else had thought of. Now the galaxy was full of broken things that no one knew how to fix. Dr. Prime, the Council's chief scientist, tried to analyze the pattern of failures. She was a member of the Thought Weavers, a species that could process information faster than most computers. "The failures are not random," she reported to the Emergency Council session. "They are all occurring in systems that humans designed, maintained, or improved. It is as if removing humans from the equation has caused a cascade failure in our entire technological infrastructure." High Counselor Prime's clicking grew more agitated. "That cannot be correct. Humans are not significantly more intelligent than other species. They have not shown superior technology." "No," Dr. Prime agreed, "but they have shown superior adaptability. Human solutions work not because they are perfect, but because humans are willing to constantly adjust and improve them. They fix problems before those problems become critical." She paused, processing more data. "I believe humans were not just maintaining our technology. They were essentially holding our civilization together through continuous small interventions that prevented major failures." The council chamber fell silent except for the sound of alien breathing, clicking, and humming. The implications were terrifying. If Dr. Prime was right, then humanity had not been junior partners in galactic civilization. They had been its foundation. Meanwhile, disturbing reports were coming from the Outer Rim. Several alien expeditions had tried to approach human colonies to demand help or negotiate new agreements. None of these expeditions had returned. The hegemony of a militant species that looked like armored insects sent a small fleet to claim a former human protectorate world. The fleet vanished between star systems. Search parties found no wreckage, no distress signals, and no evidence of what had happened. A diplomatic ship tried to land on a human colony world to open negotiations. The ship was found 3 days later, drifting in space with its crew unconscious but unharmed. When the crew woke up, they could not remember anything about the previous week. "We approached the human world normally," the captain reported. "Then I remember waking up in our ship's medical bay. Everything in between is gone." Medical scans showed that the crew was healthy, but had been exposed to some kind of memory modification technology. The technology was far beyond anything the Council had seen before. Most frightening of all was the report from the Void Hunters, an elite alien military unit that specialized in tracking down pirates. They had tried to investigate a pirate fleet that had disappeared near human space. "We found the pirate ships," the Void Hunter commander reported. "All 17 vessels drifting dead in space. No damage to the hulls, no signs of battle. The crews were gone, but all their stolen goods were still there, organized in neat piles." The commander's species did not show emotions the way humans did, but his voice carried an undertone of fear. There was a message painted on every ship in standard galactic script: "Pirates are not welcome in human space. This is your only warning." High Counselor Prime read the reports with growing dread. The humans were not just refusing to help their former allies. They were demonstrating capabilities that no one had suspected they possessed. For 200 years, humans had seemed like any other species. They followed council laws, used standard technology, and acted like grateful junior members of galactic society. Now it appeared that they had been hiding their true abilities all along. Trademaster finally understood the scope of his mistake. "We did not regulate humans," he whispered to himself in his empty office. "We freed them." Outside his window, the lights of Nexus Prime flickered again as another power grid failed. In the distance, Emergency ships raced toward another cargo vessel under pirate attack. The galaxy was burning, and the people who could have stopped the fire were nowhere to be found. The Trade Consortium had wanted to eliminate human advantages in business competition. Instead, they had eliminated humanity's reasons to keep galactic civilization running. And now everyone was paying the price. 1 month after the human withdrawal, High Counselor Prime stood in what had once been the galaxy's most advanced command center. Now half the screens were dark, the other half showed red warning symbols, and the air smelled of burning electronics. The numbers were worse than anyone had imagined. 43 star systems were at war with each other. The Void Pirates had become so bold that they were openly claiming territory and demanding tribute from merchant ships. Over 200 worlds had declared independence from their home governments, saying they could not rely on protection that no longer existed. "How many dead?" Prime asked his aide. "Estimated casualties are approaching 2 million, the aide replied. "But communication is so poor that we cannot get accurate counts from many systems." 2 million dead in 1 month. The galaxy had not seen death tolls like this since the Great Plague Wars 3 centuries ago. But the worst news was yet to come. Dr. Prime entered the command center carrying a data tablet that glowed with urgent red warnings. "High Counselor, I have completed my analysis of the abandoned human facilities," she announced. "We need to talk privately." Prime followed her to a secured briefing room. Dr. Prime activated privacy shields and checked for listening devices before she spoke. "The technology we found in human facilities is not just advanced," she said quietly. "It is centuries ahead of anything we thought possible." She activated a holographic display showing the interior of a human engineering station. This maintenance facility on the trade route contained gravitational manipulators that can move planets. The power source is based on controlled black hole technology. The computer systems use quantum processing that our best scientists cannot understand. Prime felt his exoskeleton go cold. "That is impossible. Human ships use the same engines as everyone else. Their weapons are standard Council designs." "No," Dr. Prime said. "Human ships use engines that look like ours but work on completely different principles. Their weapons appear standard but contain technology that should not be able to fit in such small packages." She showed him more images. "This is a human patrol ship that was abandoned at a repair station. Look at the power readings." The numbers on the display made no sense. The small patrol ship was generating more energy than most alien battleships, but there was no visible source for that power. "How is this possible?" Prime asked. "I believe humans have been hiding their true technology level since they joined the Council," Dr. Prime explained. "They built fake equipment that looked familiar to us while keeping their real capabilities secret." "But why? Why pretend to be less advanced than they really are?" Dr. Prime's expression was grim. "I think they were studying us, learning about galactic politics and culture while keeping their advantages hidden. They were not junior members trying to fit in. They were researchers observing an alien civilization." The implications hit Prime like a physical blow. Everything the Council thought it knew about humans was wrong. They were not the weak newcomers grateful for acceptance. They were the most powerful species in the galaxy, pretending to be helpless while they decided what to do with their primitive neighbors. "There is more," Dr. Prime continued. "I found records of human communications networks that span the entire galaxy. They have been monitoring everything: our military movements, our diplomatic discussions, our trade negotiations. They know more about us than we know about ourselves." Prime's clicking became rapid and panicked. "Are you saying they have been spying on us for 200 years? "Not spying," Dr. Prime corrected. "Watching, like scientists observing animal behavior. I found cultural analysis files that describe every major species in detail. They know our weaknesses, our fears, our deepest secrets." She showed him a human document that made his blood freeze. It was titled Galactic Species Management Protocols and contained detailed psychological profiles of every council member race. They were described as profit-motivated but cowardly when faced with real danger. The Granite people were honorable but slow to adapt to changing situations. His own species, were called intelligent but prone to panic when their authority is challenged. Worst of all, the documents were completely accurate. They have been managing us, Prime realized. All this time, they have been keeping the peace not because they were following our laws, but because they decided we were worth protecting. And now they have decided we are not, Dr. Prime said softly. At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the command center. Prime rushed back to find his staff in panic. "What is the emergency?" he demanded. "Sir, we are receiving reports from across the galaxy," his aide stammered. "Human ships have appeared in dozens of star systems simultaneously." The main display showed a map of the galaxy with red dots marking human fleet positions. There were hundreds of them, appearing in places where no human ships should be able to reach so quickly. "They are not attacking anyone," the aide continued. "They are just there, watching." Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. In the war zone, human ships had appeared between the two fleets. They were not intervening in the battle, but their presence made both sides stop shooting and stare. In pirate-infested sectors, human vessels were shadowing void pirate fleets but not engaging them. The pirates were too terrified to continue their raids and were fleeing toward the galactic rim. Most disturbing of all, human ships had taken positions around every major council world. They hung in space like silent metal moons, neither threatening nor welcoming. "Are they preparing to invade?" someone asked. "No," Dr. Prime said, studying the display. "Look at their positions. They are not in attack formations. They are in protective positions around civilian populations." She was right. The human ships were positioned to defend alien worlds, not attack them. "They are watching to see what we do," Dr. Prime realized. "This is a test." High Counselor Prime tried to contact the human ships, but they did not respond to any communication attempts. They simply hung in space, silent and patient. Then came the most shocking report of all. Captain Vex of the Stellar Patrol had been investigating strange readings near the galactic core. What he found there changed everything the Council thought it knew about humanity. "High Counselor, you need to see this immediately," Captain Vex transmitted. His voice was shaking with disbelief. The image that appeared on the main screen showed something impossible. Near the galactic center, where radiation and gravity should make any construction impossible, was a human megastructure. It was enormous, larger than most star systems, and clearly had been under construction for decades. "How long has this been there?" Prime asked. "Based on the construction style, at least 50 years, Captain Vex replied. "Maybe longer, sir. This structure could house billions of humans. It has defensive systems that make our best weapons look like toys, and there are others, dozens of them throughout the galaxy." The revelation hit the Council leadership like cold water. Humans had not just been hiding their technology. They had been building a secret civilization that dwarfed anything the Council had achieved. While alien species fought over planets and moons, humans had been constructing habitats that could house their entire species in safety. "They never needed us," Prime whispered. "We thought they were joining our civilization, but they already had a better one." Dr. Prime nodded grimly. "I believe humans joined the Council as an experiment. They wanted to see if they could coexist peacefully with other species. For 200 years, they tried to make it work. And we failed the test," Prime realized. The galaxy around them was burning. Wars raged between species that humans had kept peaceful for generations. Pirates ruled trade routes that human patrols had protected. Millions were dying because the galaxy could not function without human guidance. And through it all, human ships watched silently from the darkness, waiting to see if their former allies would learn to be better than they were. Trademaster sat in his ruined office, staring at reports of cargo ships being captured by pirates. His pale skin was completely transparent now, showing his panic-stricken internal organs. "We did not regulate them," he said to his empty room. "We insulted them. We treated the most powerful species in the galaxy like children who needed to be managed." He understood now why humans had seemed so ordinary. They had been trying to fit in, to be part of galactic society despite being far more advanced than anyone else. They had hidden their abilities and pretended to be weak because they wanted to belong. And in return, the galaxy had voted to treat their emotions as biological weapons. Outside his window, another emergency fleet raced toward another crisis that humans would have prevented. In the distance, a human ship hung motionless against the stars, neither helping nor hindering, just watching, waiting for the galaxy to prove it deserved a second chance. 3 months after humans left the Galactic Council, Ambassador appeared on every screen in the galaxy at the same time. It did not matter if the screens were turned off, disconnected, or even broken. His image appeared anyway, transmitted through technology that no alien species understood. Her face was calm and professional, the same expression she had worn during countless council meetings. But now everyone could see what they had missed before. There was a depth of intelligence in her eyes that spoke of knowledge far beyond what any council member possessed. Her slight smile suggested she knew secrets that could reshape the universe. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, "the Human Alliance wishes to clarify our position regarding recent events." High Counselor Prime was in an emergency council session when Image took over their secure communications system. Around him, alien leaders from 847 species stared at screens they could not control. "We observe that many of you are experiencing difficulties," continued. "Wars have broken out between former allies. Pirates raid your trade routes with impunity. Critical infrastructure fails daily. Millions have died." Behind her, holographic displays showed human ships moving through space with impossible speed and coordination. The ships appeared at battle zones not to fight, but to rescue civilians before the fighting could reach them. They evacuated refugee ships that alien governments had abandoned. They repaired life support systems on damaged space stations, then disappeared before anyone could thank them. "Some of you have asked why we from Galactic Society," said. "The answer is simple. You voted to regulate our emotions. You treated our capacity for feeling as a biological weapon that needed to be controlled." Her smile grew colder. "You did not understand that emotions are not our weakness. They are our strength. Our anger drives us to fight injustice. Our compassion compels us to help those in need. Our love makes us protect those we care about." Trademaster watched the transmission from his empty office. His skin was still transparent with fear, and he had not eaten in days. The Trade Consortium had lost 80% of its cargo ships to pirates. Their colonies were in revolt. Their government was collapsing. "When you voted to limit our emotions, you demonstrated that you do not share our values," continued. "A civilization that fears compassion and seeks to regulate empathy is not a civilization we can support." The image shifted to show human colonies, green and peaceful, protected by defensive systems that made Council military technology look like children's toys. Cities floated in space, connected by bridges of pure light. Gardens grew in perfect domes that held back the vacuum of space. "The Human Alliance has existed in parallel with your council for over 2 centuries," explained. "While you debated and argued over small matters, we built a better way of life. We hoped that our example would inspire you to grow beyond your limitations." Dr. Prime leaned forward in her chair, processing the implications of what she was seeing. The human cities were not just advanced, they were beautiful. Art and nature blended seamlessly with technology. Children of multiple species played together in parks that should have been impossible to build. We invited refugees from your wars, said. We welcomed species that your council had ignored or abandoned. We offered partnership to those who shared our values of cooperation and mutual aid. The display showed alien species living peacefully in human space. Granite people worked alongside cloud dancers on massive construction projects and collaborated on research that neither could complete alone. Even some had joined human communities, their pale skin now colored with health and contentment. Many of your people chose to stay with us rather than return to council space, noted. They found something in human civilization that yours could not provide: hope. High Counselor Prime felt his clicking become rapid and panicked. Hundreds of thousands of aliens had gone missing over the past decades. The Council had assumed they were dead or lost. Instead, they had been living better lives in human space. But we did not give up on you, continued. For 200 years we worked within your system. We maintained your infrastructure, protected your trade routes, and mediated your conflicts. We hoped that close cooperation would help you understand our perspective. Her expression grew sad. Instead, you chose to see our helpfulness as a threat. You decided that our ability to understand and relate to other species was unfair biological manipulation. The transmission showed footage from the fateful council session 3 months ago. Walking out while hundreds of alien species celebrated their victory over human biological warfare. We realized then that you were not ready for true cooperation, said. You still think in terms of advantage and disadvantage, winners and losers. You do not understand that strength shared with others becomes greater, not lesser. The image shifted to show the current state of the galaxy. War zones marked in red, pirate territories growing larger, trade routes marked as unsafe. The map was a testament to how quickly civilization could collapse without the right foundation. We are support to teach you a lesson, explained. Not to punish you, but to help you understand what you had taken for granted. Captain 9 of the Granite people watched the transmission with growing understanding. His species thought slowly but deeply, and he had spent weeks analyzing the pattern of galactic collapse. Humans were not just helpers, he realized aloud. They were the foundation that everything else was built on. Nodded as if she had heard his words. For 3 months, you have experienced life without human intervention. Wars that we prevented have resumed. Infrastructure that we maintained has failed. Pirates that we hunted have returned to terrorize innocent beings. The statistics were devastating. 2 million dead, 17 major wars, hundreds of worlds cut off from galactic civilization, the economy shrinking by 50% as trade routes became too dangerous to use. But we have not abandoned you completely, said, and for the first time her smile showed genuine warmth. Human rescue ships have saved over 500,000 refugees from your wars. Our medical teams have treated victims of pirate attacks. Our engineers have repaired critical systems when failure would have meant death for entire populations. The display showed human ships arriving at disaster zones with perfect timing. They appeared wherever they were most needed, helped with efficient compassion, then left without asking for payment or recognition. We do this because compassion is not something we can turn off, explained. Even when you reject us, we cannot ignore suffering that we have the power to prevent. Trademaster felt something crack inside his chest. The Pale had been so focused on business competition that he had never understood what humans were really offering. They had not been trying to gain unfair advantages. They had been trying to make everyone's life better. The Human Alliance will consider renewed diplomatic contact, announced, when the Galactic Council demonstrates that it has learned from this experience. She paused, letting the words sink in. We do not require you to become like us. We do not demand that you adopt our technology or our culture. We ask only that you understand why we do what we do." The transmission showed human children learning alongside alien youth, different species working together on projects that benefited everyone, art and music that blended traditions from dozens of worlds. "True civilization is not about power or control," said. "It is about choosing to help others even when you gain nothing from it. It is about making decisions based on what is right, not what is profitable." Her image began to fade, but her voice remained clear. "When you are ready to build that kind of civilization, we will be here. Until then, we will continue to watch over those who cannot protect themselves." The transmission ended, leaving every screen in the galaxy dark for a moment before normal programming resumed. In the council chamber, silence stretched for long minutes. Finally, High Counselor Prime spoke. "How many votes would it take to repeal Motion 847 Delta?" he asked quietly. His aide checked the records. "A simple majority, sir, 424 votes." "And how many species have experienced significant losses since the human withdrawal?" 731, sir. Only the most isolated worlds have been unaffected." Prime's clicking became thoughtful. "Then perhaps we should call for a vote." But even as he spoke, he knew that repealing one motion would not be enough. The damage was deeper than politics. The galaxy had revealed its true nature when faced with a choice between fear and trust. They had chosen fear, and millions had paid the price. It would take more than new laws to earn humanity's respect. It would take a fundamental change in how alien species saw themselves and each other. Outside the council building, the lights of Nexus Prime flickered as another power grid failed. But for the first time in months, repair ships were already moving to fix the problem. Human ships, working quietly in the darkness, ensuring that civilization did not collapse completely. They did not ask for permission or recognition. They simply did what needed to be done, because that was who they were. The galaxy would have to learn to be worthy of such neighbors, and perhaps, if they tried hard enough, they might succeed. In the distance, a human ship hung silently among the stars, waiting for the universe to grow up.